Walking Stick Library presents ADHD and the Brain with your librarian hostess with the mostest, Eileen Kramer. And don't forget, you can catch this stream live on Twitch. We're doing something that got inspired on CloudHub. Now, the main part of this video wasn't all that interesting. We can go back and do it as a topic at a different time, but I thought the first few minutes of this video really gave an interesting topic. So, we're going to show you. This is the Sarah Westphal show. I've got the intro gone, which is good. I'm going to show you just this little clip, and then we're going to go hunt it down. Ready, set, big screen, go.
Diagnosis itself as ADHD is fraudulent. These children are being misdiagnosed because there's no way to diagnose them. There's no way that you can say they have it or they don't have it because it's done off of a checklist. If you look out the window, if you get up from your seat, you have ADHD. There's no blood test, there's no brain scan. So this is the biggest fraud in my opinion, in the medical community and as a society.
A quick break in the program to share.
Okay, we don't have to watch the gold commercial. So, is she right? And, excuse me. There's a couple of ways to do this. And I didn't think about this when I first set this up. But what we want to look at is pretty basic. It's actually two different searches. The first one would be ADHD and brain. Another possible one, and since she said checklist, my brain just went beep. Oh, we don't want that. There we are. One-handed typing really stinks. It'd be very nice when I can get my left hand back, which will happen sooner rather than later. Okay, the alternative to doing this, and it's not a synonym, would be, I believe, DSMV, and it's either 5 or 6. I think it's 6. And this is an alternative, because there is a checklist in the DSMV, but it's a pretty long checklist. And there's a caveat. You don't end up using a DMV checklist. DSMV is Diagnostic Statistical Manual volume. That's what DSMV is. It's like a psychiatry Bible. You don't use the DSMV diagnosis until you're at the doctor's office, and if you're there, it's because it's bothering your day-to-day life. So this is always done for people who have day-to-day issues. You have to be suffering before this comes into play. Okay? But right now, let's just do ADHD and brain, and you can probably guess where we're going. I have a better one. I do. I'm tired of this. I'm going to find one I like eventually. And we're going to do this in Medline. We're going to do a very fancy Medline search. So let me check everybody to make sure they're home. And we're going to see if she's right, because we can go to GSU Library and run this search in Medline. And let's run it. Now I also want to see what version of the DSMV is current. DSMV 6. Okay. DSM 6. Let's see if there's a DSM 6. Ooh, 6. DSM 6. Okay, it's expected to be released between 2023 and 2088. Okay. I don't know if it's been released. So we could use DSM 5. Is there a DSM 5R? DSM 5R. Okay, revised text revision. So that's the correct name for what we're looking at. That is the Psychiatry Bible, and that has a checklist in it. But my memory of those is they're pretty extensive. Anyway, we're going to start with the brain, though. And we're going to skip this big box because we want that good Medline-y goodness and that wonderful EBSCO old school interface. So we scroll down to Medline with full text, and it's dark colored because I go there a lot. And we're going to run our first search. ADHD. Put it in. And it's telling you to use something else, which is fine. Click. Make it a major concept. And we'd like to search again. Will it let me? No, won't let me? Okay, then let's run the search. Don't worry about the results. We're not going to even look at it. We're going to go back in the thesaurus. Term begins with brain. Browse. Brain. And we can explode it, we can make it major, and we're going to search. And again, we're going to get thousands of results. We don't pay attention to this too much. Now we're going to open up the search history. And we're going to do this search. And what we're going to do is take this guy, see the and? Circles overlap with the and. We give this a click. And here we are. And I'm going to close the search history back up to make it neater on the screen. And we don't want that. So clean it up again, run it. And here we have it. And functional and structural connectivity of the subregions of the amygdala in ADHD children with or without ODD. So indeed, there are brain issues, and we really only want the past 5 years. So let's clean that up too. Online, please. Yeah, now we're down to a lot fewer. Is there a link between peripheral inflammation and blood-brain barrier integrity in children with attention deficit hyperactivity? A case control study, and this is again 2024. It's got a full text. Let's see what the abstract says at least. Background. Claudin 5, it sounds like somebody's name, is a vital constituent of tight junctions, which are critical elements of the blood-brain barrier. In people with neuropsychiatric disorders, peripheral inflammation is often found, although it is less common in healthy populations. The objective study was to examine the relationship between Claudin 5, peripheral immune cells, and severity of symptoms with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They had a cohort of 33 kids diagnosed with ADHD and 29 control subjects, all aged between 5 and 12 years. The intensity of ADHD symptoms was evaluated using Connor's questionnaire, which the parents completed. Each kid had serum level measurements of Claudin 5 and a complete blood count in order to establish a correlation with symptoms of ADHD, and the results are serum Claudin 5 levels are lower in the ADHD group compared with the control group. The levels of neutrophils and neutrophil lymphocyte ratio are significantly higher in ADHD controls. Lymphocytes have a significant positive correlation with ADHD symptoms and severity, namely the total Connors scale and inattention. NLR, I don't know what that stands for, had a significant negative correlation with the total Connors score. Claudin 5 level, and there's also a significant negative correlation between Claudin 5 levels and total Connors score. And neutrophils were found to have a significant positive linear regression with Claudin. So lymphocytes bad, neutrophils and Claudin good, and you can indeed tell ADHD through blood and brain. Though that's probably not what we're going to do. Okay, these have both autism and attention deficit. I'm just picking through these. Activity of the hippocampal CA1 astrocyte, protein-coupled receptors exerts a protective effect against attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So again, more brain. And a brief review of MRI studies in patients with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and future perspectives. Let's have a look. This is a review in 2025. Remember, if you're an English student, you've hit the gold mine. If you're a biology student, you read this and then work your way into the works cited, also called a reference list. Well, I'm not getting duoed tonight. That is sweet. Let's do this because it embiggens better. And these are always tiny. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I don't need that. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is a prevalent neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent inattention, hyperactivity, or impulsivity, and significantly affects academic, occupational, and social functioning. This review summarizes key findings of structural and functional magnetic imaging study, resonance imaging studies, and investigating the neural underpinnings of ADHD, focusing on T1 weighted structural MRI, diffusion tensor imaging, task-based functional MRI, and resting state functional MRI. Weighted structural MRI studies have revealed reduced gray matter volume in regions implicated in executive functioning, particularly the frontal cortex, basal ganglia, cerebellum, along with evidence of delayed cortical maturation. DTI findings highlighted abnormality in white matter integrity, particularly in the frontostriatal and cerebellar circuits, and connections between the corpus callosum and cingulum. Task fMRI studies have demonstrated reduced activation in brain networks involved in cognitive control, timing, and reward processing, including frontostriatal, frontoparietal networks. Furthermore, RS fMRI research has shown altered connectivity patterns between key brain networks, including the default mode frontoparietal and salience networks. Despite these insights, inconsistencies across studies underscore the need for larger and more standardized research efforts. Future research should employ multimodal imaging techniques, advanced analytical methods such as machine learning to better subtype ADHD and customize interventions. Moreover, establishing harmonized imaging protocols across institutions, as exemplified by innovative strategies such as traveling subject method, is crucial for mitigating intersite variability. Although collaborative efforts, neuroimaging studies in ADHD are implicated to enhance our understanding of the disorder's heterogeneity while informing the development of precise clinical diagnoses and personalized therapeutic interventions. Well, we just crushed that one, didn't we? I would like to see the DSM-5 working with this. I'm gonna go back up here and change this. I'm not sure what happens if we put in DSM-5 asterisk. It can be the regular one or the TR. We don't have a 6 yet. This is your diagnostic statistical manual. It's the Bible of psychiatry. Let's search. Okay. All right, I see a lot of these, but I don't see quite what I want. I'm thinking we probably want to, we might want to run this in Google Scholar. I just feel better about it somehow. I don't have a copy of the DSM-5 in the house. And everything's closed, and I'm sitting here. I don't think there's an online version. So we're going to go to scholargoogle.com. I'll put that in the chat because that's something everybody can go to. Let me get my squawk. You are wonderful, Tinker. You are the best. Okay. We can look for I'm going to put this in quote, DSM-5, 5 asterisk, and I'm going to use the full name because, again, attention deficit. I'm making this slightly different because I'm not sure what we're going to get. Okay. Here we have adult attention deficit hyperactivity diagnosis, management, and treatment. This is in psychiatrist.com. And here we have diagnostic criteria in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, changes in DSM-5, frontiers in. What happened to my, oops. This one is, I would love to get a copy of the DSM-5 definition, but I just don't have one. But let's have a look at this one anyway. This one is a JAMA, which we have access to. Okay. And I know when you look at it, it's very, the objective here is to increase awareness of adult attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in the primary care community and to provide guidance for the management of the condition. The publication of the DSM-5 has provided a more clear diagnostic criteria for ADHD. Data sources, we searched PubMed and Medline. Results are an update of the diagnostic criteria. This isn't quite what I want. Okay, we got this one. And again, here we have somebody critiquing this, but this is ultimately what they use. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, is the most common neurobehavioral disorder in childhood, affecting large numbers of children throughout the world. Because of the knowledge evolved from ADHD research, today's challenges are vast, including changes in terminology, fears of overdiagnosis, and overmedication of children. What began as a case description has now evolved into clinical trials, leading from observations of behavior to advances in neuroscience. The biggest challenge remains the correct diagnosis of ADHD, though, with a worldwide prevalence of approximately 5%. ADHD is very common. ADHD in the United States shows a prevalence among 8 to 15-year-olds of 8.7%, and only a third of the ADHD patients have been treated consistently in the past year. In another age group, 18 to 44-year-olds, the prevalence is about 4.4%. Male patients are 6 times more often diagnosed with ADHD in childhood than female patients, and 3 times more often in adolescence. The prevalence seems to be equivalent in all levels of IQ and socioeconomic status. The core symptoms of ADHD in the DSM-4 TR criteria include inattention on the one hand, hyperactivity and impulsivity on the other hand, both having to be consistent to a degree that is maladaptive and inconsistent with developmental level. A 3-year-old's behavior is expected to be different from an 8-year-old's behavior. And again, you have to suffer before they apply this. Additional criteria include chronicity of ADHD symptoms, meaning that there has to be a persistence of symptoms for at least 6 months, pervasiveness of ADHD symptoms. ADHD symptoms have to be present in different settings and locations, or at least in more than one location. Family, community, workplace. Some hyperactive, impulsive, or inattentive symptoms must have been present before the age of 7, and there must be clear evidence of interference with developmentally appropriate social, academic, or occupational functioning. Ding. Ding again, we've got this lady, this target's vibrating. Now, it would be good if we could get hold of a copy of the DSM-5. I can't promise you anything, but we're going to try it. Let me get a GSU library up, and I'm going to try to see if we can get a copy online. I can't promise you anything, but we can try it. Go hunt it for me. Go hunt. Okay. Diagnostic. I don't think we have this online. Go find. Okay, beyond the DSM story, Handbook of Adult Psychology. We don't have it, but I'm going to look in here and see if there's a description of what we're looking for. I know what to look for now. Diagnostic, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to have to click this, unfortunately, and then I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to clear everything. Come back. I'll put the quotes around it. Go find me a copy. Find me a copy. And you can see we have a lot of these. DSM-5 guidebook. Oh. I'm going to click full access online and we're going to lose a whole pile. Okay, this is the DSM-5 guidebook. Again, we don't have the actual manual. This is as close as we're going to get. And hopefully they have one on hyperactivity, and they're going to show you that it's more than just looks out the window. Neurodevelopmental disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Okay. Close her up, let her rip. Close her again. Okay, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder was first acknowledged in the DSM-2 as a hyperkinetic reaction of childhood or adolescence, characterized by overactivity, restlessness, distractibility, short attention span. DSM-3 provided operational diagnostic criteria. In DSM-4, the criteria were revised to focus on two broad groups of symptoms: difficulty focusing and maintaining attention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. The criteria required that at least 12 of the 18 symptoms, 6 from the domain of attention and 6 from the domain of hyperactivity, impulsivity, be present for at least 6 months with onset before age 7 years. Subtypes could be used to specify whether the presentation was primarily inattentive, predominantly hyperactive, impulsive, or mixed. Several changes have been made to the diagnosis in DSM-5. First age of onset has been changed. First age of onset has been changed from onset of impairing symptoms by age 7 to onset of impairing symptoms by age 12. Research has shown that estimates of onset set by age 7 are unreliable and that few clinical differences exist between children identified as having onset by age 7 and versus those with later onset in terms of severity, outcome, or treatment response. Subtypes have been replaced with presentation specifiers that map directly to the prior subtypes. Examples used in the criterion have been changed to accommodate lifespan relevance of each symptom and improve clarity. Symptom threshold for adults 17 years or older was reduced from 5 from 6. For those younger than 7, both for attention and for hyperactivity and impulsivity. The change was prompted by research showing that individuals tend to have fewer symptoms of ADHD in adulthood than in childhood. Finally, in response to data showing that ADHD and autism spectrum disorder can coexist, a comorbid diagnosis with autism spectrum is now allowed. Okay, and here we have the diagnostic criteria. 6 or more of the following symptoms have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level and that negatively impacts directly on social, academic, or occupational activities. Note, these symptoms are not solely a manifestation of oppositional behavior, defiance, hostility, or failure to understand tasks or instructions. For older adolescents and adults, at least 5 of the symptoms are required. And this is like often fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes in schoolwork, at work, or during other activities. Overlooks or misses details, work is inaccurate. Often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play activities. Has difficulty remaining focused during lectures, conversations, or lengthy reading. Often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly. Mind seems elsewhere even in the absence of any obvious distraction. Often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties in the workplace. Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities. Difficulty in keeping materials and belongings in order, messy, disorganized work, has poor time management skills, fails to meet deadlines, often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, often loses things necessary for tasks or activities. I used to do that all the time as a kid. Is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. For older adolescents and adults may include unrelated thoughts, is often forgetful in daily activities, doing chores, running errands for older adolescents and adults, returning calls, paying bills, and keeping appointments. And then we have 9 choices, and you have to hit 6 if you're a kid. 6 if you are a kid, 5 if you're an adult. And you have to hit both sides. 6 or more of the following symptoms have persisted at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level and negatively impacts directly on social and academic occupational activities. Symptoms are not solely a manifestation of oppositional behavioral defiance, hostility, or a failure to understand instructions. For older adolescents, you have to have 5 symptoms instead of 6. And again, if the kid's pissed off, doesn't work. Often fidget with or taps hands or feet, squirms in seat. I'm a big fidgeter. Often leaves seat in situations when remaining seated is expected. E.g., leaves his or her place in the classroom, in the office or other workplace, or other situations that require remaining in place. Often runs or climbs in situations where it is inappropriate. In adolescents or adults, this may be limited to feeling restless. Often unable to play or engage in leisure activities quietly. Is often on the go, acting as if driven by a motor, unable to be or uncomfortable being still for extended time, as in restaurants, meetings, may be experienced by others as being restless or difficult to keep up with, often talks excessively, often blurts out an answer before a question has been completed, often has difficulty waiting her turn, i.e. waiting in line, often interrupts or intrudes on others, butts into conversations, games, or activities, may start using other people's things without asking or receiving permission. For adolescents and adults, may intrude and take over what others are doing. And this has several inattentive or hyperactive symptoms were present prior to age 12. Several inattentive or hyperactive impulsive symptoms were present in 2 or more settings. There is clear evidence that symptoms interfere with a reduced quality of social, academic, or occupational functioning. Symptoms do not occur exclusively in the course of schizophrenia or another psychotic disorder, and are not explained by other mental disorder, mood disorder, anxiety, dissociative, blah, blah. I've got anxiety, so that kind of kills me off the list. Though they tried treating me for this, for some reason, it didn't work. Okay, we can come back. I think we've pretty well established that ADHD is a real thing. They're not going to just do it if the kid looks out the window. Give you your kid pills and things. She just looks out the window. It's a fairly complex workup. Thank you for watching. And remember, you can catch me live on Twitch